A man, 33, received a phone call from his sister that changed the trajectory of his week. She was 29 and she was calling from a hospital bed in a panic. She'd just been admitted for unexpected surgery, something serious enough to require at least a week of hospitalization. Her voice was shaking when she asked him the question that would create a family crisis. "Can you take care of Bailey?" Bailey was her dog, and the man was not a dog person. He had never been a dog person. He'd made this abundantly clear his entire adult life. His home was meticulously clean, the kind of clean that required effort, maintenance, and a lifestyle built around order. He worked long hours, a demanding schedule that left little time for anything beyond his job and personal routines. The idea of adding a dog into that equation felt impossible. He told her he couldn't do it. His sister got upset immediately. She called him selfish. She said Bailey was really well behaved, that it would just be temporary, that she was asking for help during a medical emergency. He tried to offer alternatives. Could she ask one of her friends? Could she hire a pet sitter? Surely there were other options, but her best friend was out of town, and she couldn't afford a pet sitter right now. Medical bills were already piling up, and the surgery was unexpected. She had no financial cushion for emergencies like this. Then she started crying. Through tears, she told him he was abandoning her when she needed him most. The words hit hard, designed to pierce through his logic and hit the emotional core. She was in a hospital bed, facing surgery, vulnerable and scared. And her brother, the person she thought she could count on, was saying no. The man felt bad. Of course he felt bad. But he also felt something else. Frustration. Why was it fair for her to expect him to drop everything and rearrange his life to accommodate her dog? He had been clear about his boundaries regarding pets. He'd never hidden his feelings. He'd never pretended to be someone who could step in for situations like this. His parents entered the conflict with fury. They called him an asshole for not helping his poor sister in her time of need. They painted him as cold, selfish, unwilling to make a small sacrifice for family. But when he pointed out that they could take Bailey themselves, the excuses came quickly. They lived several hours away. It wasn't practical. They couldn't do it. So they could judge him for saying no, but they weren't willing to say yes themselves. The man felt stuck, trapped between his boundaries and family obligation. Torn between sympathy for his sister's situation and resentment at being guilted into something he'd always been honest about not being able to do. His sister had chosen to get a dog. She had taken on that responsibility knowing it came with commitments, vet bills, daily care, and contingency plans for emergencies. He hadn't made that choice. He'd structured his life specifically to avoid these complications. And now, because of an emergency, he was expected to absorb the consequences of her decision. But was that fair? Or was he being cold and unfeeling towards someone he loved who was genuinely in crisis? The surgery was real. The panic was real. The vulnerability was real. His sister wasn't manufacturing drama. She was facing something frightening and needed help. Bailey wasn't just a pet to her. He was family. Leaving him in uncertain care, or worse, abandoning him during her hospitalization, would add emotional stress to an already traumatic situation. But the man's boundaries were also real. His work schedule was real. His lifestyle, built carefully around his preferences and limitations, was real. He wasn't equipped to care for a dog, and forcing himself to do so wouldn't just be inconvenient, it would disrupt everything. Was he wrong for prioritizing his boundaries over his sister's emergency? Or was his sister wrong for expecting him to abandon those boundaries because she hadn't prepared adequately for contingencies? What do you think about this situation? Was the man wrong to refuse to take care of his sister's dog during her hospitalization, or was he right to maintain his boundaries? When does family obligation override personal limits? Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below.